again so that there you go.
Do we need to talk about anything before we start recording? I don't know.
Oh,
Are there
that's
any instructions,
yeah.
anything like that that you share?
I've been trying this for 4 times so far and I'm still not used to it. Let me start let me officially start for the purpose of recording and
Okay.
um hello everyone. This is Jiwon again, and today I'm going to interview Leo as a student of December. And just as a start, I'll let Leo self-introduce to uni folks, although most of them are aware of what you're doing and etc. But so you can start with your name, uh when you start the PhD program and your advisor and your current research, which is your dissertation.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for inviting me, G1, to be here today. Yeah, so I think I know almost everyone in the program,
Mhm.
but for those that might not know me, my name is Leonardo Politini Marcos. Most people just call me Leo. So if you ever see me, feel free to call me Leo. I started in E&E during the spring semester of 2021, so I'm in a bit of an odd place because I don't really have a cohort. Actually, I did have one person in my cohort. It was just me and Sid. Sid recently graduated in the summer of this year,
Oh,
but technically he's the only person in my cohort. If
oh, I
we're
didn't
if
know
we're
that
being
he also.
strict.
Oh, I didn't know that he also started in spring semester. That's quite unusual, right?
Yeah, I don't remember what his specific situation was, but for me, the reason I started in the spring was because I was accepted to start in the fall of 2020, but 2020 was the crazy year that COVID hit.
For sure.
And yeah, I remember I think it was in March of 2020, which was right when like a lot of countries were starting to go into lockdown and stuff. I got an email from Ian being like, "Hey, you were admitted, but like there's this crazy thing going, so what do you want to do?" I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna defer my admission just because like the US embassy in Brazil was not open, so I couldn't go and get a visa
Makes
to
sense.
be here for the fall semester. So I just deferred. And it was
Mhm.
early days of the pandemic. I was like, oh, maybe this won't last that long. It should
And
be
then
fine.
and then yeah, it lasted more than a
Yeah.
year at least.
Yeah, so I ended up starting in the spring of 2021, but I started as a virtual student. I was just taking classes virtually because I was still back in Brazil. I
Mm,
still hadn't been able to get a visa, and then I was able to finally come in person during the fall of 2021.
mm.
So yeah, that's my weird cohort story. So I'm in two or three different cohorts because of that. Uh, and yeah, my advisor is Carrie Douglas. Um, yeah, ever since I arrived in person to Purdue, I've been working with her. So,
Mhm. And what's your dissertation topic?
oh yes, that was part of the question. Sorry.
No problem.
Broadly speaking, my dissertation topic is about international standards for accreditation of engineering education. So essentially, I'm looking at two big systems that exist and that have global influence. And
Mm.
I'm approaching them through a more historical and critical perspective to understand like how these systems came to be and what is like motivating their expansion, and particularly being more critical about how they are expanding into the quote unquote global south.
Oh, is it something related to the ABET or something
Yeah, it's
adjacent?
it's related to ABET. So ABET is essentially like the national accreditation board for the United States
Mm-hmm.
for engineering. Um, and so like ABET, even though ABET also accredits engineering degrees outside of the United States, they are still a US organization. But then there are essentially these accords that exist between countries that try to establish sort of like a common set of standards for accreditation that cover
Oh.
all of the countries that are part of this accord. So, Like for example, there's this one in which the US is part of and like Canada is also part of. So technically, because they are both part of this thing, they have a shared set of standards that they both have to meet in doing their
Oh,
accreditation procedures.
oh, interesting. So is your research more theoretical or empirical?
Um, I guess you could say
Both.
it's a bit more theoretical because in a sense like
Mhm.
the data that I collected for my study is essentially a ton of documents from both of these global systems that I am studying. So, you
Oh,
know, they have like official documents that they shared internally. They held like mini conferences. So I am also looking at like papers that they had at these conferences. They had like all sorts of presentations that they gave out in different places. So like that is um a big part of the data that I have. So that is essentially like the recorded history of these systems. But then because these documents wouldn't give me the full picture, I
oh,
also thought it was pretty important to get to talk to some of the people that were in the leadership positions for these global systems. So I also conducted interviews with I think 7 people. That have been in leadership positions for these systems in the past.
oh, interesting. It sounds very different from research topics that I am familiar with. I haven't thought of collecting data and available in either in international libraries or online sources. And it sounds like you have. So are you focusing on the documents that are primarily based in English or any
Yeah,
language that you
I
can
think
understand?
that's a great question. So for one of these international systems,
Mhm.
like everything that they have is in English because the system
Oh,
started with English speaking countries. So English was
oh,
already established as like the main thing for everything that they were doing. So it wasn't like really a concern for me.
oh,
But then the other system started in Europe, and although it started like already as this international thing, so they were already using English as sort of like the way of communicating, because there would be a bunch of other languages that the participants would be using in Europe, so they just settled on English as the standard language for for their communication. Um, but then the interesting thing is that like that system, like the organization that manages it, it's based in Belgium, and then it has like official documents that have to be like recognized by the Belgian government, and those documents are in French.
right. Oh.
And they do provide like translations of those documents in English, which are the ones that I have been using for my analysis. But technically, if there are like minor differences between the two, like it's the French version
Has more
um,
details.
that should be taken into account. Like, yeah, that's the one
Oh,
that is like legally binding, let's say. But then like in for other documents, like almost all of them are in English or have translations in English, so
oh,
it was fine.
got it. Oh, it sounds challenging but exciting at the same time. It's you're literally just traveling around the world through your dissertation.
Oh yes, yes. I have a lot of acronyms currently in my dissertation because, in talking about these things, I have to
Mhm.
discuss the accreditation boards that exist in a bunch of different countries, and so all of those have like acronyms, and then the acronyms are in their native languages, and so I
Oh,
provide like like the meaning of the acronym in the language, and then I provide like a quick translation to English. It's just chaotic in that sense.
I remember when I first learned about ABET and I had no idea what it means, but everyone talks about it, so I eventually learned what it means. Mm.
Mm.
And I think this is kind of related to the second question. So, what brought you to engineering education from engineering? So maybe your dissertation topic might be related or maybe not related at all. And could you share your story about decision making?
Yeah, so the topic of my dissertation is somewhat related to my decision to come to engineering education. So, for reference, my background is in materials engineering. I did my
Mhm.
bachelor's in that. And then after I finished my bachelor's, I decided to, I took a few months away and then decided to start a master's
Mm,
program. But then I was like, okay, I've had some research experiences in undergrad doing like research in materials engineering, and I didn't really like that. So I think that
oh,
if I am doing a master's, it has to be on something that I really care about.
mm,
So I knew I wanted to do something that was related to like teaching in engineering. I didn't know like the term engineering education at the time,
mm,
but that sort of like came out of a quote unquote frustration that I had during undergrad and seeing like a lot
mm,
of instructors that just they were just like very accommodated in their ways of teaching, and then that was clearly driving a lot of people away.
oh,
And a lot of people were struggling with many classes for
mm,
reasons that I thought could be like for things that I thought could be improved.
mm.
So that's generally like what gave me this idea of wanting to go into engineering education. So
Oh, I see.
not knowing that that was a field, I decided to start my master's, and I approached a professor that I had worked with during undergrad because I knew that he was interested in doing like stuff related to teaching and education, and I
Mm,
just like proposed that idea to him, and he was very excited about it, and so I ended up being admitted into the program and being able to like do research related to education. And that program it had to be more related to specifically materials engineering because they wanted to tie it to the program.
mm,
But it was during that master's that I learned about like engineering education as a field. And that's also when I learned that a couple of institutions had like entire departments and graduate programs dedicated to that. So I learned of Purdue during that time. And I thought it was really something that I wanted to continue to do. So
mm.
that's how I decided to apply to
Oh,
Purdue.
interesting. So from material engineering to engineering education. And
Yes.
the third question actually is before, like, until you decide to major in material science. So what were your career goals in high school? And then I
Oh.
think you answered the college part and after a PhD. So I think the time between ma material engineering and engineering education was answered. And I what I'm curious about is before material engineering and after engineering education.
Yeah, so I think before starting undergrad, it was sort of all over the place.
Just
I
as any
think.
high school students.
Yeah, I was already starting to think about that like at the end of not elementary school, middle school.
Oh,
Um, I was sort of thinking, oh, I really like science and stuff, so I was
hmm.
thinking about like maybe going for biology or something like that.
Oh, biology and material science
Yes.
sound very different.
It's a bit of a
Okay.
stretch. But then I remember as I was getting closer to like the end of middle school and when I was starting high school, I just started getting really interested in architecture because I thought it
Architecture.
would
Okay.
I thought it would be cool to, go and design some cool looking buildings and
Oh,
then
like artistic vibe and
yeah, I thought that looked fun.
I get that.
But then I started to realize I was like, hey, I don't think I have any sort of like more artistic inclinations. I tend to do better with like, the hard sciences, math,
I
physics,
see.
chemistry, and all that stuff. So I was like, maybe, the civil
Hmm.
engineering then, because then that will put me into like building the
Hmm.
things, not necessarily making them pretty or
Hmm.
interesting to look
At
at,
least
but
strong and stable buildings, probably.
yes. So around that time, I started considering just like civil engineering, and then my interests just started floating around between different engineering disciplines.
Mm.
Because I wasn't like really sold on civil engineering, so I was just like hearing stuff that other people were talking about. So I think after that, I became a bit interested in mechanical engineering and then naval engineering.
Okay.
Until at some point, I think on my second year of high school, I was like, I need to take the university admission exams next year.
Oh,
So I think I need to make a decision. So I
I
took some
see.
time off and started looking at all of the different types of
I
engineering
see.
and seeing what they did. And that's when materials engineering caught my eye because I was reading about what it did and what sorts of things I would study. And it just really caught my eye. It made me very excited. I was like, oh, I'm gonna learn like why metals behave the way they do, or like why some materials are
Mm,
stronger than others, or why things are transparent or
or
not.
not.
So that just sounded really cool to me.
Oh, but you weren't that interested in natural sciences. At least your interest was kind of caught up in engineering field, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think my mom was trying to push me to go for medical school.
Oh,
But I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. But she was like, you're smart. You could make it. I was like, no, I don't like this.
that's pretty common in Asian culture as well. Like your parents want you to become a doctor and lawyer
Yeah.
and
Yeah, yeah, those are also like very prestigious professions over there. And then engineering, it's a thing that like a lot of people are kind of like, I don't really know what it is, but okay, at
yeah,
least it doesn't sound bad.
exactly, exactly. That's how parents' generation think about engineering field.
Yeah.
But and after PhD here, I remember that you are looking for job opportunities, not necessarily tied up to the United States, right?
Yeah, so my main goal is actually to go back to Brazil and get some sort of like
Mm-hmm.
faculty position over there
Oh.
because, as I mentioned
Mm.
a bit before, part of my interest in engineering education came out of this understanding that things could be a lot better.
Mm.
Um, and so I would just really like to go back and uh, put some of this knowledge
Mm.
that I developed over here in this program to use over there to help like
Mm.
improve um, like
It,
how engineering education is carried out in some places.
I
So
see.
that's like I guess the noble goal.
I see.
Yeah.
So, is there a university that offers engineering education as a separate discipline? Because so far, South Korea doesn't have such a thing, and I wonder what's the situation in Brazil.
Yeah, currently there aren't any institutions that offer engineering education or have like uh, dedicated departments or even centers.
Mm,
But due to some connections that I have over there, I know that this is a growing concern for people
mm-hmm,
there, and there are some institutions that are really deep into investigating like the viability of starting something like that. Um, so, they're not quite there yet, but
mm-hmm.
I think there is a lot of potential in there for me to jump in and be like, hey,
Yeah,
let me help you do this thing.
yeah, you can be a pioneer. I think you will be a pioneer if you're going back to Brazil. And because honestly, I have no idea how Brazil looks like because I've never simply just saying have never visited there. So
Mhm.
how is your experience back in Brazil different from or similar to your academic experience here in the United States?
Okay, so this is mostly about the academic experience.
Anything like academic, culturally, anything is fine.
Hmm. Um, I don't know. I think in some ways it's a bit difficult to compare because, uh, you know.
You were in grad school here, and back then you were
Yeah.
mostly undergrad students. Mm.
I mean, I did have I was in touch with a lot of people that were PhD students over
Mm-hmm.
there, and I also did my master's over there, and I know it's not
Mm-hmm.
like exactly uh not like the same as a PhD program, but there are
Mm-hmm.
some
Oh.
overlaps. I think like one of the key differences for me, um, it's just sort of like how different the timeline is over here for the PhD program.
Oh.
Like over there, PhD programs tend to be pretty strict with the timeline that you're in because basically there is like a national body that evaluates graduate programs in Brazil, and one of the criteria that they take into account
Mm-hmm.
when evaluating these programs is how long it typically takes a student to graduate from that program. So, like,
Oh.
the ideal time
Mm-hmm.
frame to graduate, quote unquote, ideal,
Mm-hmm.
to graduate from a PhD program over there is 4 years. And so, a lot of programs,
Oh.
particularly those that tend to be well evaluated by
Mm-hmm.
that national body, they tend to be really strict about ensuring that you graduate in 4 years and that you do
Oh
not
my
take
goodness.
longer, because then that can, take down their score a little bit, and that translates to a little bit less funding
Oh.
for the program, and so yeah, it's much more strict in that sense, and I think that was something that I had a little bit of trouble translating internally, being here, because there is not really a very defined timeline over here. It's very
Mm.
much driven by the student and by the things that
Mm-hmm.
you're able to do
Mm-hmm.
during your time here. So I think I would say that that's one of the big differences.
That sounds like a big difference. Like, I can't imagine myself in a situation that I must graduate in 4 years. I mean, I wouldn't mind be voluntarily choose to graduate in 4 years, but maybe if something my data collection is delayed and I can take five
Mhm.
years, there are some more leeways. But at the same time, yeah, I think the fact that we don't have a specific deadline for graduation makes me a little bit overwhelmed sometimes. Like it can be 7 years and 8 years if
Oh
I don't
yes.
push myself, and it sounds
That can be scary.
yeah, it can be scary as well. So yeah, I think it definitely has a pros and cons, and
Yeah.
yeah, having a deadline doesn't sound like a terrible idea, but yeah, it's very interesting. I have never ever heard of this kind of system in any other country so far.
Yeah, and then of course, like it depends a little bit on how interested your program is in being
Mm-hmm.
well evaluated by that body. Like
Mm-hmm.
the materials engineering graduate program that I was in, they had like the top score in that thing, and they
Mm-hmm.
were not interested in giving that up.
I
So they were
see.
pretty strict about that. But I have other friends that are in graduate programs that do not have the highest score, and they tend to be
Ah,
more lenient with
I see.
graduation time.
I see. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
It's
that's
a
a
big
big
difference
difference.
and unexpected answer. Oh, interesting. And probably, I think you will be a perfect person to answer this fifth question compared to the other interviewees so far. So,
Mm.
what do you like about the PhD program, or what excites you the most about doing the PhD program? As you're
Mm.
closer to the completion of the degree, I really wonder what's your answers look like.
I think I think there are two main things for me. I think first it's just like, and this might sound a bit cheesy, but the people
Oh.
here. I think and that's for a couple of different reasons, but
Mm-hmm.
like one, it's just very nice to be in this environment where other people are also
Mm,
concerned about engineering education,
for sure.
uh, when you're talking to like
Mm,
other engineering faculty,
mm,
that's not necessarily something that comes across, but then
for
being
sure.
here in this space, that is something that is a concern for everyone, and it's
Mm,
just nice to be around a lot of people that think this way.
Mm,
And then there's also like the fact that, um, I really do like all of the different like expertises and the different cultural backgrounds that people in our
mm,
department have. I think that has made for a very good learning experience for me over the years.
mm.
So yeah, the people are one thing, and then the other, um,
There must be
maybe some people will not like this answer, but like before I started in the program, I was just
Mhm.
very excited to take the classes, like the E&E Foundation classes, and I would still say that I liked a lot of them.
Which course did you like the most?
I think it was CAP 506.
Oh, oh.
I think that was like a great course for me because it was just like where I was able to start putting into practice like a lot of these things that we've been learning
Mhm.
about in the program. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a very humbling experience to see how much work goes into making a class work well.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
and it's also, I thought it was a very formative experience for me because like the project that I did in that class was not to like design a course from the
Mhm.
ground up. I basically took a class that existed in my undergraduate program
Mhm.
and I tried like reworking that class to be more student centered and all of that. And so it was very interesting to do that because it led me to think differently about
Mhm.
engineering courses and see that even though it might sound very difficult to put a lot of these active
Mhm.
learning or student-centered practices into action, you can actually do it.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
has been one of my favorite experiences.
I also felt the same way because we spent almost 4 months into just creating and improving the existing syllabus. Probably,
Hmm.
maybe some of the folks started from scratch, but at least in my case, I started from the original syllabus from the course that I took, and then my final assignment wasn't satisfactory, and even
Oh.
after spending 4 months of improvement and
Hmm.
revision, I still feel like there must be some more room for improvement, but the course ended. But yeah, anyhow, I really like that course as well.
Yeah, I think it's a very good
Mm,
course. Yeah, so that has been one of my favorite experiences in the program, I would say.
I see. Actually, I'm more excited to ask the sixth question. So, what do you dislike about the PhD program? And, or
Mm.
in a better way, if you're conscious about other professors listening to your answer, what stresses you the most about doing the PhD program?
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a difficult question to answer. I think, you know, having been uh, in the role of president of the NEGSA in the last academic year,
Mm,
like I think one of the things that bothered me a bit was just like how difficult it seemed to get like some faculty members to show up to some events that we wanted to be more for like
mm,
integrating
mm-hmm,
faculty and graduate students.
mm-hmm,
Um, that's something that I've heard from like students, like older students that
mm-hmm.
used to be very different before COVID hit. Apparently,
Oh,
like when COVID hit, that it was a big like cultural shift in the department. So it was just something that bothered me a little bit, and I kept thinking about like how
mm,
we could try to like um, get them to be more excited to show up. Um,
mm.
but I wasn't really able to come up
But
with anything.
oh, this is very touching because I didn't know that continuously was sticking in your brain. And I think,
Mm,
because yeah, I also felt that the space, people don't use the space very actively
hmm.
compared to what I expected when I first joined the program. And I think the other interesting fact is faculty are using different building is something that I didn't expect at all. Because if
Yeah.
I interact with any other PhD students from the different colleges or departments, it feels like at least they're sharing the same building, but in a different floors, or
Hmm.
maybe they're on the first floor and graduate student using the sixth floor or something like that. But like across the Northwestern Avenue is not a far away, but at the same time, probably sharing the building will make them more comfortable coming to the space more often.
Yeah, a couple years back, a lot of faculty in E&E used to have
Mhm.
their offices in the fourth floor of Wing.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that too.
And yeah, I think that also probably contributed to
Mm.
that. Like when they were all forced to move into arms,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is like one of the reasons why this is the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, this was my first semester that I first met Dr. DeBoer in person, even though our
Hmm.
lab was technically sharing the same space.
Right.
Yeah, I just didn't have a chance to take her courses or interact with her personally, but I'm glad that this semester, I think in social events, I had more chances to talk with professors,
Hmm.
and probably Yash will take care of that responsibility better.
Yeah, yeah.
And seventh question is actually not for um kind of a little bit closer to the senior students as me. Um, so if
Mm.
you go back to the freshman year of the E&E PhD program, what would you do differently? And this is the question where every interviewee has very different opinions, and I wonder what your answer would look like.
That's also a very difficult question, and I mean, good job, Jiwon, with these questions. They are very thoughtful.
First year students really need answer from senior students.
I don't know. I mean, I think there are definitely a few things that happened like throughout my PhD that, as I was going through them,
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily like how they were going.
Mm,
But I don't know, having I guess the privilege of being able to look back at those now being past those
mm,
stages, I don't know if I would necessarily have done anything differently. So like one of the things that I struggled with quite a
mhm,
bit was defining what my dissertation research was going to be about. Like it took me a
mm,
very long time to settle on
mhm,
something. I came into the program having a couple of specific ideas,
mm,
and then like throughout the courses that I was taking in the first year or two, I was, really using the projects in those courses as an excuse to explore those interests. And um, many times what happened was that like I worked on that thing for that project and then I realized I didn't like that topic.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, that led me to like just move around quite a bit until I finally was able to find
Mm,
something that um, would be able to hold my interest and something that I really felt like I could contribute to.
mm,
Um, so that, was a little bit frustrating because taking a while to
mhm,
figure out what I wanted to do also
mhm,
meant that I ended up taking my readiness, now the RDS a little bit
mhm.
later than most other students ended up doing that.
I see.
Um, So I don't know. I guess like if my
Mhm,
plan was to just graduate fast, I guess something that I would have changed would be to just like, structure my dissertation around something that I was already doing for one of my research assistantships.
Oh,
But I'm not necessarily sure if that was my goal, and I'm really happy with where I am with my research at this moment.
I see. I think I think some of the folks will relate to your story because I also started in project A and then migrated to project B eventually, and my dissertation will be from project B. And I
Mm.
think I think if you don't change your main research topic from first year, I think you can utilize the E&E courses better.
Yep,
So that
absolutely.
yeah, because I think for the first year, I thought that I will stick to Project A forever until I graduate.
Hmm.
So I used that data set and the theoretical frameworks for all of the ENE 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then
Mm-hmm.
I ended up not using it, and
Yep.
I kind of regret that part again, but it's kind of inevitable at the same time, right? Because I had no idea that I'm gonna change my research topic, and it eventually happened, and yeah, it's kind of open-ended answer to everyone.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what you said is definitely
Hmm.
true. Like, I did all of those things for those courses, same as you, but I
Hmm.
am not using any of that. If I already knew
Exactly.
what topic I was going to do my dissertation
Hmm.
research on, then, the things that I had done for those
Hmm.
classes would have already been much more useful for, getting me on track for the RDS or even the prelim in some
Hmm.
in some cases. Yeah.
But I think it's pretty common for students to change the topic after readiness RDS. So,
Mm.
but I haven't heard of a story that they changed the topic after their prelim.
Oh
I
no, yeah, you can't change after the prelim because the prelim is essentially you making a contract with your committee and being like, okay, this is the thing that I am doing. So
I
this is
see.
what you will judge me on for my defense.
I see. I see. Because I have one friend in another university and she literally changed the topic after the proposal and
Okay.
she didn't have to go through the proposal processes again. So I think
Yeah.
it's probably unique to Purdue, or maybe that university was unique, whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely not common to change the topic
Mm,
after you do the proposal. I think
mm,
over here, you wouldn't necessarily have to go through the prelim process again, but you definitely would have to have some meetings with your committee, have
I
like
see.
actual committee meetings with everyone in there to discuss things, and maybe some of them would like to see
Mm,
like another kind of document or something like
mm,
that.
I see. So your recommendation to the first year students is that how can I summarize?
I don't know, it wasn't much of a recommendation. It was just sort of me reflecting on that experience. I guess like I don't know, if you don't know what topic interests you
Mhm.
yet and you're not particularly concerned with getting out of this program as soon as you can, take advantage of those class projects as a way to explore.
Mm.
That's I guess the TLDR.
Oh, that makes more sense because I think it's better to explore within the course rather than exploring in the readiness and submit the paper and
Yes.
submit the literature review of almost 30 and 40 pages and then you do another literature review for your new topic sounds overwhelming as well. I mean, you can still
Hmm.
do that, but it's
Yes.
better not to change the topic after RDS. So I
Yeah, it
see.
makes for a
I
more
see.
stressful situation.
Yeah, I see. Oh, just by the way, Nimota's answer was that she would have put all the papers that she read in the course in the one folder. She said
Ah, I see.
right now her note taking is sometimes in OneDrive, sometimes in Google Drive, and it's all
Hmm.
over the place, and she regrets not putting effort into organizing these papers and annotations in one spot. And
Okay.
I resonated with that very hard. So, but I think I resonate with your story very hard as well. Now reflecting back on my first year.
You know what she said? I actually did that. I have like a pretty organized system of folders for all of my PhD courses. So I have like all
That's
of the
great.
readings in there. I
Mhm.
have all of the class projects. I have all of the syllabi. Everything is in there. So whenever I need it, I know where to go to look for them. And it's very good. It pays off to do that.
Oh my
Would
goodness.
recommend.
Oh my goodness. I think I really want to make a template for first year students for E&E that you must put effort into folder organization your first year. And even though it looks time consuming at the first time, it will save you in your fourth and fifth year or even after.
Yeah, it
I
is
struggle
actually
with
less
this
time
one.
consuming if you do it at the start because then
Exactly.
you just have like, the three courses you're taking in the first semester. So that's only the three course folders to
Exactly.
manage.
Exactly. I think for annotation, most of the time people just stick to Zotero because that's the tool
Mm,
that Purdue teaches in
yeah.
through the workshop. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'll if I have a chance to talk with any first year engineering first year E&E students, I will I will I will transfer transfer these recommendations to them.
You're gonna be like, show me your OneDrive folder or
Yeah.
whatever it is they use to back up. I want to look at that.
Scrutinize everything.
No way.
Um, okay, I guess this is the end of the question that I prepared, and I'll click the stop recording here.